Hello, hello. This is Jen Piceno here with one of my favorite people in the world. This is Victoria Welsh, who was brought into my tribe by another favorite person, Kelly Meyerson. And our relationship has been this cosmic dance of deliciousness. Victoria wrote for my book, Sacred Medicine, Mystical Practices for Ecstatic Living. And her chapter is chapter 18, Feel Your Way Rich. Isn't that yummy? And I would just love for you to dive in. You and I have the same concept about life and living and wealth consciousness and impacting women in a really powerful way. And can you just share a little bit about what your chapter's about and
Yeah.
your medicine?
Yes. Oh my God. Thank you so much for having me. I love you so much. You know this. I adore you. So Feel Your Way Rich. It's how to align with the frequency of abundance. And my chapter is basically my story of my broken mindset around money and what occurred in my life, which brought me to my knees and in a puddle of tears on my kitchen floor, crying out to God at 47 years old because I was broke and not could not see the light in any tunnel. There was nothing. I described my story of February of 2020. It was my son's 11th birthday. And I had left a cushy 6-figure job in nursing just 6 months prior. I'd been a nurse for 25 years. And I was working from home. I worked for an insurance company. I had this cushy job that I could just work from my computer and do all the goodness, but I was not living my soul purpose. I was not standing in the light of my truth of who I truly am. And I had always known that I had this purpose deep down in me, inside of me, to be, I didn't know the word coaching at the time, but I called it motivational speaker. I wanted to speak from stages. I wanted to help people. I wanted to move the masses into confidence and conviction in who they were and what they were doing in the world. And so I left nursing. I just up and left my job and took out whatever little bit of money I had in my 401k, because as you'll hear, my broke mindset, this was my second time of depleting my 401k, and there wasn't a lot in there, but I took it all out and I decided to go all in on my coaching business. And 6 months into it, I had a friend who was paying my rent for me. I could not even pay my rent. I'm a single mom. I have no support from a husband, a partner, a roommate, a nothing. Right. It was just me and my child. And I was the sole supporter for him. And so February of 2020, when we were just days away from his 11th birthday and my friend had just paid my rent, I was looking at my bank account and I had $200 to my name. And COVID had just hit, like we hadn't gotten the lockdown yet, but there was talk of COVID. And I wasn't selling. And I was also in this space of kind of like depressed, you know. I was like, almost like I was ready to throw in the towel because my business was not sustainable for a household, for me to be a single mother and take care of my son. And so the story that I tell inside of the chapter in your book is that I could hear my son in the kitchen talking to his friend. And he was telling him, I'm going to have this party. I'm going to have the best party ever. I'm going to have it at Sky Zone and we're all going to go jumping. And then we're going to come back here and we're going to, you know, he was just telling all these things. We're going to have cake and pizza and ice cream and all these things.
And as a mom, you're going cha-ching, 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 cha-ching.
Literally, that's what I said in my chapter. Like all I was doing was adding up. I was like, how many kids is he inviting? That's $25 per kid for 2 hours of jump. Like it was just adding up, and he was up to 9 kids that he was inviting. And then he was like pizza and this and that, and we're going to do this. And I was just like, my heart was beating so fast. My gut was kicking. I was sweating beads because here's what I know. I knew that my poor money mindset had nothing to do with my child.
Yes.
I knew enough about wealth consciousness that I was not going to pass on to him the same blueprint that had been passed on to me.
So you were doing
And
the inner work through him before you did it in yourself. How beautiful is that?
yeah, he's been my teacher a lot, right? Aren't our children our biggest teachers?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I had taken a couple of money mindset courses, but here's how I describe money mindset and wealth consciousness. Money mindset is the subconscious programming. It is the beliefs that you hold around. Wealth consciousness is the frequency of wealth, right?
Mhm.
There's a big difference. It's money mindset, wealth consciousness. You're on that frequency. Money no longer becomes something you chase because the security of money is a true illusion.
Now, for me, it starts with that so that people become open, the mindset, but then they do this deeper connection of self, which I call self mastery. They do the inner work, right? Which helps us step into our energetic mastery. Do you see that growing into the wealth consciousness? Because that's an arena that I love to play in, but sometimes we forget the wording of where people are on that path, right?
Yeah.
But it's a progression. You just don't go from A to B.
Exactly. Which is, I had done these money mindset courses. I had read enough books. I had attended the T. Harv Eckert, a Millionaire Mind 3-day event. My belief my belief and my work in the world is the way it progressed for me is the way that I help my clients. Okay. So I do a combination of all the things. Once I had this shift in my wealth consciousness, then there was still work to be done because now my body was still having visceral responses, physical responses around it. So I add somatic body work also into wealth consciousness. Okay. So the money mindset stuff I had gotten, and I knew enough to know that I should not say to my son, don't plan this. We don't have any money in the bank. It was enough there that I was like, okay, I'm just going to trust and believe, and I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure it out. And still at that point, because I was doing mindset work, I was like, I'm going to figure this out.
Yes.
Right.
It was all mental realm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to I'll find a way. I'll figure this out. Right.
Mm-hmm.
All through the logical mind. And that night, like, he went to bed and I'm still like panicking now. I'm pacing the floor and I'm like, why is this happening again? Because 5 years prior to that, when I wiped out my 401k the first time, I had lost my home to foreclosure. I filed bankruptcy. I lost my car to repossession. Like, I had gone through a complete loss of everything that I believed was, what made me.
Right.
And packed up everything that I owned and I moved to Florida with just my son and away from our family. It's right. I had a job, a cushy job that I could work from home because it was just him and I here. Right.
Right.
So I that night, I couldn't take it any longer. It was a woman who could no longer sit in her own shit. I just couldn't. I was fed up with myself and my broke mindset. I was fed up with where I was and how many times I had been there.
Right. It flipped the switch. Flip the switch.
The complete flip that night. And I just hit the ground. At first I started, the questioning and all the, how can I fix this? How can I do this? And then finally I fell to my knees in prayer. I fell to my knees at the feet of the divine and said, first it was, why me again? Like, why?
I've been in that space.
Why me again?
Yeah.
Damn it. Like, what is this lesson now? Why me again?
Yeah.
And I was on the floor just crying, like, show me the way out of this. I can't live this life like this anymore. My belief is that our karmic lessons in life, like the true big lessons that we came here to overcome, are the things that we keep coming up against. Money.
I believe this too, wholeheartedly. I also believe that's your medicine.
Yes.
You went through it so that you could serve fiercely. And if you weren't on that bathroom floor, you would not be able to pull other people up off of it.
Exactly. And you read about that, you hear about it, but when you are in the midst of it, like I was like half expecting to hear a voice, like the divine speaking to me out loud, like, get up, Victoria, and go to bed. Like in Eat, Pray, Love, when he tells Elizabeth,
exactly what I'm thinking of.
Get up off the get. Go to bed, Elizabeth. Go to bed. Like,
right.
I was half like mad that I wasn't hearing anything. Like, right. Like, it was like, hey, dear God, it's me, Margaret. Why aren't you responding? Like, what is happening right now? And it was in that moment, like something inside of me clicked also, that nobody's here to save you. You literally, all my life, this blueprint that was running all my life, from hearing the adults around me talk, marry a millionaire, just marry rich. Yeah. You don't have to make money. You're a pretty girl. Just go marry somebody that's got a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so that was part of my blueprint. It was also like on the floor, like, well, where is he then? Jeez, where is he? Like,
where's my knight in shining armor?
Yeah, with all the money, right?
Right.
It clicked in me as I was on that floor that nobody was coming to rescue me. No one at all. That I had to be my own
hero,
rescuer, my own shiro. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had to rescue myself. And so I went and just got myself together. I grabbed every book on wealth consciousness or money mindset that was on my shelves. I went into a peer support group that I had at the time, crying my eyeballs out and saying, I don't want your pity. I want to know how you got through this. I want to know your stories. I want to know how you shifted to where you are. I want to know how you opened up the channels of abundance for you. I want to know why this doesn't happen to you and it happens to me. Like, I just want you to tell me your stories.
The way that you went in is exactly how I love when clients come to me or to you, is when they're coming in seeking, but not as a victim.
Yes.
Not as a victim. It's a totally different frequency and energy. It's like, that's the ripening, right? The ripening of the expansion.
I knew I had created this.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I had created this situation, and I knew I was the only one to get myself out of it. Mm-hmm. But I needed to hear from others. I love stories. I love hearing people's stories. I love hearing stories of victory. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to hear the stories of women that might have overcome something, or the tools that they use. Like, what did you use? How did you get through it? And so when I came into my peer group and said this, there were a couple of them that tried to save me and said, oh, we'll send you money. And I was like, I don't want your money. I want your knowledge. That's what I want, And, for any of those single women out there, or single mothers out there that might be listening, I also didn't want to fall down the hole of poor, pitiful me. I'm a single mother. I don't have support. Like, you have a husband and you have a husband. I can't lean on that. I did not care what my circumstances were or my story was. I knew enough to know that it didn't matter about my resources. It mattered how resourceful I could be in that moment.
And the other thing that I want to just lift you up, that touched me so greatly in your story, was all of this was going on. You, hands and knees, begging for wisdom, right? Your son didn't know. At all. And never. I love that so much, because that is a gift within the gift.
Yeah. Never knew. He didn't know until I wrote my chapter.
That's incredible. Incredible.
Yeah. He did not know until I wrote my chapter. And, I had so many gifts that night from the shifts that occurred within me, in my consciousness. My consciousness expanded that night, whether I was going to shift into wealth consciousness or not. My level of consciousness expanded that night just from seeing myself from a new level.
There's a surrender.
Yes.
A letting go.
Surrender. Yes. Mm-hmm. Which is not an inaction. Surrender is actually a choice. It's an action of, I decide that this is how
Mhm.
this is going to go.
And I just, for anybody that's listening, I know some people have resistance to that word surrender. They see it as a vulnerability. And to me, that's where we find our greatest power. I think there's so much power in our vulnerability or in the art of surrendering.
It's one of the biggest things that I teach is surrender, because in the surrender is where you meet the grace of God. It's in the surrender that you can finally lean into that, because you're saying, I trust and believe that something outside of me has got this. I'm not going to try and control it. Something greater than me, something bigger than me. I don't mean outside of you, because it's actually inside of you, but it's that I'm done controlling it. I'm
From the
done
mental
trying.
realm.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So yeah, my son never knew about it. I went in and asked for support from my friends in my support group, my peer support group. They gave me a whole bunch of different journal prompts. And this was all still money mindset stuff. They gave me a whole bunch of different like wisdom, affirmations, do this again. Yes, we can shift our subconscious beliefs through affirmations, but that frequency is what I was desiring. And that frequency to me means freedom.
Absolutely.
That frequency to me means lush, opulence, abundance of all things, right? My practice into my awakening, which had happened many years earlier, my practice into my awakening started with gratitude and surrender and meditation. But in gratitude, I had developed such a beautiful practice of gratitude that it was the very first thing that I did every single morning when I woke up. I had a practice when I would get in the shower, and then I had another practice whenever something like this would show up in my life. So I fell into gratitude in that moment. And I just started trying to see, or attempting to see things differently. Like, where can I find gratitude in this situation? Where can I find gratitude for where I am right now? How can I find gratitude? And I don't know if you've ever heard of, like, they call them affirmations or big lofty questions, right?
Right.
So I just moved into big lofty questions of, why does God love me so much? Like, why am I so supported? How is it that money is constantly flowing my way? Because that's not for me to figure out. That is for the
again, it's the release, the surrender, the
release.
trust.
Right.
Yeah.
And I fell into that. I took all my books. I went up to my bed, and I spent the next 6 days. I didn't leave my room except to go to the bathroom, get something to eat, come back. And for my son's birthday party, which had been like a couple of days away, I did not leave. I was determined that I was done with my own crap, and I was ready for a new level, a new awakening. I was ready for this new version of me to emerge. And the next day when I woke up, I had called, I talked to some friends. The friend that had paid my rent, she actually just Zelled me some money and said, this is for his birthday. Something else showed up with money. His father, who he doesn't really see often, sent him money for his birthday, like sent money to contribute to the birthday. Money started like trickling in the minute I surrendered. And it wasn't just money. Like, it wasn't just money. It was like abundance, and abundance in the form of, when I asked for assistance, like, these women messaged me privately and said, instead of in the group, and messaged me privately and said, try this thing, do this thing, listen to this podcast, watch this person, here, do these journal prompts. It was an entire support. Abundance was showing up everywhere. One of the girls who was in that peer group actually showed up at my house with a gift card. I mean, like,
but none of that would have happened if you didn't trust to show your authentic self and show up in that group with these women and reveal what you were really
that was the surrender. That was in the surrender of saying, in the surrender, I've got to humble myself. Because again, when we're in that hustle, grind, trying to make it work, trying to figure it out, always trying to figure it out, we are creating distance between us and the divine.
I believe we're creating pure torment. right?
It really is.
It's tormenting trying to figure out. It's suffering.
So much suffering. And it is in the surrender that you're then able to see the abundance that was already around you and that is then flowing into you. It's the release. It's such a release. But I spent the next 6 days in my bedroom studying my innermost parts of me. And then I would listen to subconscious reprogramming. And then I would listen to my whole thing about my wealth consciousness is being a frequency is that I want to be connected to that frequency, whether money's the byproduct, right? Money is the byproduct of wealth consciousness.
I agree wholeheartedly.
It really, truly is. I wanted to be in that frequency for that liberation.
The freedom
And the absolute liberation. And so I did all the things. I read all the things. And it was on the 6th day, one of my best friends was spending the night at the house. It was 3:00 in the morning. I will never forget because I'm reading the book, and the book, for any of you that want to know, was Happy Pocketful of Money. But I had done a ton of work up into that point, right? A ton of digging. It's 3:00 in the morning. And I read this passage from Happy Pocketful of Money. And I just went, oh my God, I get it. Oh my God, I get it now. It was not just that passage. It was the work I had done.
Everything, but that made it snap.
It was that I read one passage, and the passage was conditionalities don't exist. They don't exist. You've created them through your thoughts. When you think broke thoughts, you attract broke to your life.
Yes.
When you think abundant thoughts, when you think wealth thoughts, you attract wealth into your life. It's whatever you think, you create. Whatever you desire to create, you're creating, and you're always creating. Are you consciously aware of what you're constantly creating? Wealth is not the way that society has tried to indoctrinate us.
Yeah, I feel the same about success, wealth, money, all of it. It's like, let's expand upon this. Let's get real with this.
Yeah. Yes. There is such a beautiful, there's just this beautiful, oh God, I can't even think of the word. It's like, there's no words for it. It's more than comfort. It's like home. When you reach that frequency, you're like, oh my God, I was born for this. This is where I'm born to live. This is what I was born to live in. And if you think of a baby that has zero worries, zero attachments to anything in the world, they just know they're always going to be taken care of. They know that when they cry or when they have a need or desire, it's going to be met. They cry, they're fed, they're changed, they're this. They don't worry about who's going to make the money to bring the food into the house.
Right.
At our core essence, we are that innocence. We are the child of God. That pure innocence, that is our soul signature. That is our home frequency. And when I felt it, when it clicked, I was like, oh, I'm home.
What am I worrying about? Yeah. We waste so much time and energy on worry. I remember a Tony Robbins seminar that I was at, and he said this, and it still stays with me. He was talking to a particular person and coaching him through something. He said, why are you worrying about something that hasn't even happened yet? And we do that so often. We're creating these stories in our heads that have not even happened, and therefore we create the stories. We manifest the story, right? But if we could just snap out of that and think the what if in the other direction.
Yeah.
Right? So I love being in your world. We celebrate so much. We celebrate everything. And it may sound silly, and Victoria can contest this. I called her the other day on chat, and I sent her a picture of a royalty check that arrived in my mailbox that was 3 cents.
Yes. Yes.
From a gig I did forever and ever ago. Sometimes they show up big and sometimes they show up tiny. And I was like, you are my witness. I am celebrating these 3 lucky pennies with you.
Yes.
But that, is funny and silly as it is, man, the rest of my day was a rock star day.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. My son laughs at me because like I love saying to like, he laughs at me because I pick up and I'll be like, pick it up. Abundance, abundance, abundance. Like 50 cents on the ground could be a $50 bill that just as easily finding a $50 bill in the ground. Pick it up, kiss it, thank, praise, thank you, God. Send me more, please. Thank you, universe. I'll take more, please. But I'm constantly in celebration of every penny. I do money dances. I know you have a lot of money rituals. I do very few money rituals, but I usually like once a month when I'm with my group, I'll do money ritual within my group. It's more of gratitude and the frequency and the staying away from fear.
It is. So the celebrating to me when we go into ritual is really an art of appreciation and an art of trusting. Like trusting, this is what I'm calling forward. This is my intention. This is my desire. And then releasing the attachment to it, because the attachment will take me back up into my head and nothing good happens from up there. No. Right. So
no. You have to drop into your heart with all of this. When it comes to wealth, when it comes to success, you have to be dropped into your heart. It's not going to occur from your headspace. It's not. All of this is a frequency. And what emits a frequency? Our heart. Our heart is emitting the frequency. So, and go to the Heart Math Institute. If you don't know about the heart frequency, like this all is emitted through our heart. So we have to drop out of here and into here. And when you said, what Tony Robbins said, this is what keeps people in a broke mindset. With the fear and the worry of, especially entrepreneurs, if they're not making it and they don't know where their money's going to come from for the next month, what keeps you in that space of the money not coming in is your constant focus on the money not being there.
Right. So therefore the money's not there.
And we'll never, right. It won't, right. Or it'll come and it'll go. It'll come and it will go. The work for us to do is whenever we feel, and I briefly touched on this about the work that I do in my own courses around wealth. I've added, I do your money blueprint. I do money mindset work. I do wealth consciousness and the frequency work. I do energetic clearings for clearing out all your channels of abundance. But then I also do somatic work, because your nervous system, if you grew up poor, if your parents said things about, not having enough food or the electricity or the bills or stuff like that, you will develop a somatic response, a visceral response in your body when it comes to, I don't know, going to the grocery store and spending money, or buying something that's a larger expense, or when your bank account gets down to a certain amount, you will have a visceral response to opening your account and looking at your money. And money desires to feel good in your presence. And so if you're having these visceral responses, we have to retrain our nervous system. Otherwise, we can do all the money mindset work we want.
You can only get so far. Yes. You can only get so far. And I mean, I have 100% respect for everything you do. And I do similar things, the clearings and the inner work and tapping into this and re-correcting our nervous system. To me, that's where it's all at. That's where it's all at.
Yes. Because that's what you can have this shift. Like I had the shift in the frequency, I did the money mindset work. I had the shift in the frequency. I had done energetic clearings around my money. I'd even done ancestral clearings around my money. I've done lineage stuff. I've done all this work. And then I had the shift in the frequency, but I was still scared to death to open up and look at my bank.
Right. Because we have to take all the teachings, all the wisdom, and then it has to be integrated. And I think so many people do the work, they do the studies, but they don't actually integrate it into and embody it. And that's, to me, where all the magic happens. I see a lot of people studying, doing, fixing. But until we have that integration of self and self-mastery and pulling it in and really embodying the work, I think those same patterns are going to repeat. even though the knowledge is there.
They will, because for months, now I said I had that shift in frequency and money started showing up, but it was little bits of money, right?
Mm-hmm. Get a little taste,
right?
Yeah.
Of what's available to you. And I kept leaning more into like, God is my source and supply, not my clients,
Mm-hmm.
not my business, not, anything else. God is my source and supply. And as divine consciousness, if I get out of my own way and I remember and connect to my divinity and remember that I chose to come here for soul purpose work, then I will also remember that I'm always provided for, that I'm infinitely resourced, that the universe will literally rise to meet me. I mean, how many of you that are watching this, you've been like at a place where I don't know where it's going to come from. I don't know how I'm going to pay that bill, but it shows up.
It shows up.
Every time.
And so do the right teachers and the right situations and the right everything when we release that control.
And so the fears about it not showing up are an illusion. It's not true. It is not a reality. It is a story you've concocted in your mind that will actually create the reality to come into existence.
And it feels real.
It
feels horribly real when it's going on. But if they can just move through that, this is the
work. This is the work. The deep surrender. This is all of my teachings. You know this. Trust, deep surrender, deeper connection to the divine. Like, people are always trying to figure it out. But how do I make more money? I don't teach you how to make more money. I teach you how to get into your divinity, to remember who the hell you are, so that you know you are infinitely resourced. And guess what? When you relax into that, when you move into that space, when you lean back and get out of here and drop into here and say, okay, what's my next best offer? What should I create?
And it just comes through. Isn't it just like life gets easier? It gets easier. We get to simplify things because we're receiving. We're not trying to do all this brain power, which makes my head hurt just thinking about it. Like receiving, what was it the other day? I think I sent you 10 offers that I've got on my board over here. I'm like, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? It was just coming in. But when we tap in and we go into that heart space and we really just let it come, oh, it's so delicious.
And that's where, like, you just ask, what is my next greatest offer that is going to bring the wealth into me?
Mm-hmm.
Give me that. But so many people say, okay, let me write down what it should be. Like,
and the outlines and the thing and the forecasting and you're exhausted before you start.
Girl, I can't live in that world. I cannot live in that world.
I know, we get each other. I don't do it either. If it does not light me up, I'm not doing it.
That's me. If it's not a hell yes, it's a no.
It's a no. Yes. Well, I'm so glad that you were a hell yes for this project. I am so honored you're here. Our book comes out. It's right around the corner, September 8th. It will be out on Amazon. So please support this great work. And you will see more Victoria in my future book, which is Wealth Codes, Sacred Strategies for Abundance. So we're going to keep playing in this arena of wealth consciousness and expanding it into all areas of life. So please keep showing up, doing the work, and know you're more magnificent than you've ever imagined. Love you. See you. Bye.